Hi friends, happy Sunday. Hope you had a great week, and I wanted to take some time today to share a video about how I'm planning to save $10,000 to move to New York City. As you know, my major manifestation I'm pulling in right now is a move to New York City. So there is a lot that goes into that and a lot of money, time, consideration, preparation, and I really wanted to bring you along on that journey so you can kind of see how long it takes, how my manifestation goes, how my money is working out, and we can really kind of have these conversations in real time. So first of all, I guess I should kind of get into like why I want to move to New York and where I want to move to. For me, New York has just always had this energy about it, and I feel a different type of way when I'm there, and I feel really inspired and encouraged to do my best and be my best every time I go. And I just really think that I'm at a time in my life where all of the stars are kind of aligning. You know, I recently ended my relationship. My lease ends at the end of August. I'm financially far more secure than I've ever been before. I just really feel like, why not try, really just make my goal living in New York and go all out trying to get this to happen and see what happens. I'm 28. I kind of feel like sometimes I feel like my life is slipping through my fingers. Like I can't believe I'm already 28, and I've lived in this apartment for 3 years. I've lived in Virginia now for 6 years. It's just kind of like things feel a little bit stagnant. And so I'm really excited to kind of freshen up my environment and kickstart my life in a little bit of a new way. When I think about New York, I really imagine living somewhere that I open up my front door, I walk out, and there's a cafe on this corner and a museum 2 blocks away and a park right down the street and a bar and a restaurant. I want it to be super walkable, really just a fun and lively place to be, always something happening. And that's kind of how I imagine New York already, but that's really what I'm prioritizing for the neighborhood that I end up choosing to. So I know I want to be in Manhattan. Brooklyn is something I'm considering, but for me, it really feels like Manhattan is the right place to be. And I'm kind of just trying to get a feel for the different neighborhoods online, via past experiences that I have, reading about things, looking at apartments, and try to see what neighborhood is really going to align not only with my budget but also with kind of the whole reason I'm going, the vibe that I'm looking for. So first things first, if you don't know this already, one of the major things about New York City that you have to consider is you have to make 40 times your rent as your annual income. So that's like a hard and fast rule. There is very minimal exceptions from my understanding to that rule, where you really need to have the income to support your ability to pay, and that 40 times is the minimum. That means you have to make $80,000 to live in a $2,000, studio apartment. The thing about New York is that a $2,000 studio apartment is like extremely hard, if not impossible, to come by in the majority of these neighborhoods. So I'm targeting an apartment around $2,500 with a large dog, bright windows, in a really trendy neighborhood or up and coming neighborhood, or at least very walkable neighborhood near a park. But in order to do that, I have to either make $100,000 myself, or I have to have a guarantor, so a parent, a family member, or a third party that makes 80 times and will guarantee my lease. So with all of that in mind, that really should give you some background into why I was manifesting an increase for my promotion and or a new position. And I'll kind of dive into that in a separate episode about my manifestation updates. But right now I'm looking at a $2,500 maximum rent per month for a studio apartment. So now I wanted to kind of break down, like, what are all of the fees that go into moving into a $2,500 a month apartment? What do I need to be preparing for? When do I need to have these things? What about paperwork? How do I find an apartment when I live in DC? And kind of give you the lowdown on how I'm planning to make this huge move in about 45 days from today. First things first, the fees that are associated with your rent. In the city of New York, they typically require a first month's down payment, so $2,500, a security deposit equivalent to a month's of rent, so that's another $2,500. A broker fee, which can be anywhere from no fee at all to 15%. If you assume that you get a 15% broker fee, that's going to be an additional $4,500. It's 15% of the full year's rent. Application costs, which is only about 20 bucks per application, but still, if you're applying to multiple places, that's something to be mindful of. And moving costs, so the actual cost of either hiring a moving company or renting a U-Haul and driving all of my stuff up there. All in at an absolute minimum, assuming that I found a place with no fee. All I had to pay was first month's rent, 1 month security deposit, application fee, and my moving costs. I'm really looking at spending a minimum of $6,000 on this move. That's $2,500 for the first month, $2,500 for the security deposit, and about $1,000 for moving costs and application fees. That's a lot of money that I don't have. So we're talking about anywhere from a minimum of $6,000 to up to $10,000 in order to move, relocate, which is crazy and explains why so many people struggle to move to the city, because it's not just can you afford it when you're there, it's can you afford to even get there. So I kind of want to get into next broker fees, because 0 to 15% is a huge difference. There's a massive difference between planning for $6,000 and planning for $10,000. And why would I use a broker? Why would I have a broker fee when it's so expensive? Because I live in DC and I don't live in the city, I'm not able to view apartments in real life, get a feel for neighborhoods, actually see these apartments firsthand before they go off the market. The market is so hot right now, like absolutely on fire, and things are moving and getting signed and apartments are being filled in a day. I'm not able to same day hop on a bus or drive up there and see an apartment myself. So I'm really relying on a broker. A broker's job is to really prioritize all of my needs, be aware of all of the listings, and then be able to either give me a FaceTime tour or give me an updated, like, realistic photo tour, and a kind of neighborhood tour of what I would be getting into, so that I can make the decision sight unseen, assuming that I trust my broker, to move to New York, to an apartment, to move somewhere I've never seen before, because the market is just too hot for me to be able to go up there and see things myself. And that really sucks. You know, it would be great to already live in New York and be able to see no fee apartments and kind of do this on my own terms. But because of my situation, I can't move up there and afford to, like, stay in an Airbnb or a hotel or something. So I really just need to find a reliable broker, find someone that I trust and who is highly communicative and understands the neighborhoods and understands my needs, and be able to then trust that they will find places, tour places, and promptly get my applications in so that I have a really strong chance of finding a place by my move-in date. As a reminder, today is July... Alexa, what day is it?
Today is Saturday, July 9th.
July 9th. My lease here ends on August 30th, so I don't have a ton of time. In New York real estate, it's typically no more than like 30 to 45 days from your moving date that you would start looking, just because it's, again, really fast process and a really fast pace. That stresses me out a little bit, but I'm trusting the process. I'm trying really hard to, like, let go of expectations and of really holding on to things with, like, a death grip, which is my normal status quo. So I've enlisted a broker, and I'm planning to spend up to 15% in broker fees. So again, that means we're talking about up to $10,000 in my total fees of first month's security deposit, $4,500 broker fee, moving costs, application fees. I don't know about you. Maybe you've got your finances figured out and you know what the hell you're doing with your life, but I do not have $10,000 sitting in the bank ready to go. And again, we have like 45 days before I move. The next thing to know is that there is a slew of paperwork that you need in order to appropriately get an application in. And it's best to have, from my understanding, all of your paperwork lined up and ready to go, like from the beginning of your search, in case you find that spot. That way your broker can just submit your application for you. They've already got everything that they need, and everything can just be sent and good to go. Paperwork needed include a tax return or W-2, the last 3 pay stubs, last 3 bank statements, a letter of recommendation from your current landlord, a letter from your employer stating your income, title, and duration of employment, and a photo ID. So I have to get started on compiling all of this paperwork. Honestly, some of it I just don't even have. I don't even know where I would find it, but I'm gonna be looking for it and hopefully figure that out very soon. But it's really all about compiling that data together and having all of that ready to go, all of that paperwork in one ready to send folder. And then that way, when my broker goes and sees my dream apartment, he can just send it right away. Here's her $20 and her application, let us know. And this just kind of keeps the ball rolling. So there's never any real roadblocks when you actually find the place, because the market is, again, moving very, very quickly. And it's really all going to be about how quickly can you capitalize on these places. So how do I plan to get $10,000 before I need to move? First things first, as you know, I have a second job. I am doing restaurant work. I get paid pretty solid paycheck every week. It's about $500 every week after taxes, direct deposit into my bank account. That's been huge. Having that extra income has been a total game changer. I'm way more comfortable with my credit card payments, because when I first started that job, all of that income went directly to credit card payments. I'm way more comfortable with my current rent payment, with all of my utilities and other fees. So I'm being really mindful of the fact that now all of those dollars, every single one of those $500 is going directly from my direct deposit checking account and into my New York savings account fund. Today is, again, July 9th, and I have about $3,500 in the account currently. So we're looking at still needing about $7,000 before, holy shit, $7,000 before the end of August in order to be able to sign all the paperwork, get a place, bite the bullet, and go. I've done this analysis like 100,000 different times in different ways. First of all, I got a promotion, and again, I'll hop into that in my manifestation update, but I was promoted, and with that promotion came a very substantial pay bump. So I will be starting to get that updated pay on July 22nd is the first pay date of it, and it will be backdated to June 20th, which means I get an extra full month of that salary in my bank account. So I kind of built like a little calendar. Okay, here's my little calendar. Like literally wrote down on this piece of paper, made a little calendar of all the dates, highlighted what days things are coming in and what days things are coming out. Assuming that I make $500 a week until I quit my restaurant job, I should make an additional $2,500 to $3,000 in the next 5 weeks. Plan is to have my last day at the restaurant job be the 31st of July. That way I can spend August. First of all, I have a work trip in August that takes up 2 weekends, so I wouldn't be able to work then anyway. And then when I get back, I'd like to actually be able to pack and get my life sorted and figured out and not be stressed about being at the restaurant all the time and just having no time. So I'm looking at it between $25,000 and $3,000 coming in from the restaurant job. That then puts me at $6,000, which means I have $4,000 left. Next, I calculated all of my regular day job paychecks, and my typical paycheck right now after taxes, after healthcare, after my 401k is about $1,800. 4 paydays at $1,800. Plus additional income, because I don't quite know what my paycheck will look like after this promotion, but I know that my paycheck on the 22nd will include an entire month of back pay. So I'm assuming about an additional $1,000 there, and potentially an additional couple hundred every 2 weeks after that. So I'm kind of estimating about another $5,500 from there. So starting at $3,500 in my savings account currently, just from the last couple of weeks of saving things up, looking at another $2,500 from the restaurant, looking at another $5,500 from my day job. That is a total of $11,500, which is awesome, except for the fact that I still have to live here and I have to spend that money on rent and power and internet so I can do all of the things that it requires to get my paycheck. So you take that income, you subtract my current rent, which comes out to about $2,200 a month right now. You subtract the bills I have estimated before the end of the month, And we're looking at probably about $7,000. So $7,000 all in, I need 10. Knowing that $7,000 is not gonna be enough just to be prepared for something that's a 15% broker fee, and also knowing that I won't need a car in New York City, I will also be selling my car. Obviously, I hope I can get $3,000 for my car. That's kind of the amount that I need. But my plan is to do a full gut of my car, clean the crap out of it, for sale it, Craigslist, in a parking lot at Safeway. CarMax currently offers me less than $2,000 for the car, but I think if I sell it on my own, I could get more. So I'm also planning to sell my car, and that ideally should get us to the $10,000 mark. That does not consider any additional like random unexpected costs. What if moving costs more? What if I need to hire a moving company? What about furniture when I'm actually there? What about any unforeseen costs between now and the end of August that kind of eat into that a little bit more? That's just kind of how I'm estimating things right now. I'm trying to be conservative. You know, conservatively, how much do I think I can have by really looking at kind of like by August 25th-ish, assuming that I maybe sign something on the 25th and move in on the 30th. But yeah, it's gonna take a lot of hard work. It's gonna take a lot of budgeting. It's gonna take a lot of pinching pennies, a lot of macaroni and cheese, which you know I have no problem with. A lot of working. I'm gonna be working multiple shifts a week, you know, trying to pick up shifts when I can so that ideally that $500 a week actually becomes 700 or 900. And I can kind of eat into that a little bit more and kind of have a cushion. But it's a lot of money. It's not cheap to move to New York City. I'm really hopeful that it's gonna work out. I feel really positive about everything. Again, I feel like more secure in myself and in my situation than I really ever have. And I wouldn't be making this move or talking about making this move or deciding to make this move if I really didn't feel that the timing made sense. So I just wanted to be transparent on how much it costs, what I'm expecting, when I'm expecting that money to be coming in, and what I'm doing about it to get it. I think a lot of times you can see that people just up and move to a new city, and isn't that great? My parents are wonderful, but they don't have the income to, you know, give me $10,000. I think a lot of times when we see people pack up their shit and move and relocate and start over, a lot of times the gut reaction is, oh, well, she has a rich dad. Oh, well, she's a trust fund baby. You know, how did they afford to do that? I could never do that. And I've lived in that kind of mental cycle a lot of like, oh, everyone else just has it better than me. Everyone else was just born rich. Everyone else just is smarter with their money than I am. They just already have $10,000 in their bank account. And maybe you do, and that's great. Like, it's really not coming from a place of judgment on those people. It's a place of judgment on myself that like, I could never. But I'm gonna prove to myself and to everyone else that I can, and that you can too. You don't have to have $10,000 in the bank right now. It's really just about putting in the hard work, knowing where that money is going to be coming from, strategically planning all of my direct deposits and all of my payments and utilities and fees and everything, really having a clear understanding of what's expected of me as a renter in New York City, and just being fully prepared and really diving in head first. I'm going for it. You know, this is my life. I'm 28. You have one life to live. If I'm gonna screw it up, here's the time to do it. I feel lucky that I do have a cushion of sorts to fall back on, and that if I needed to, my parents would let me live on their couch. If I didn't figure it out in New York, I could come back to DC, I could come back to Virginia, I could go back to Seattle. There's a whole world out there. You know, it doesn't have to be New York or nothing. It's really about making a decision, making a plan and sticking to it, and really being gung-ho about, this is what I want, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how I'm gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this was informational for you and enjoyable. Even if you're not moving to New York City, I think that this is a really important thing to think about. Like, if you need more money, you have ways to get it. If you need to figure out your budget, sit down and calculate, what do you need? How are you gonna get it? When are you gonna get it? Work backwards. This can really be applicable to any move, not just New York City. It can be applicable to any big life change, any big purchase. So I really hope that this was helpful and that this was a little bit expansive too for you, so you can see that, you know, you don't have to be born into a very rich family, have your income figured out. I'm working hard. I'm gonna make it work, and I'll keep you updated as it goes along. Have a lovely week, and I will see you guys next Sunday.